Hello, 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 and welcome. I am here. Yay! For those of you who don't know me, my name is Licara. This is Unleash Your Light. I am glitching again over here. So I did share it as a YouTube post. If you can't get on it right here, please make sure that you use the post above or below this. I did share the streaming that I'm doing over on YouTube. So that way you can go on either site and be able to watch Unleash Your Light today. Hi, Leah. Welcome. It is such a good topic today. And y'all, so many people are dealing with stress and anxiety, and they get overwhelmed very quickly, even by little things. Hi, Paul, welcome. Michelle, welcome. Again, if you are watching me on Facebook and it starts to glitch right above my post, I put the link to the YouTube one. The YouTube one was very clear last week. For some reason, my phone is glitchy on Facebook, but they don't let me do the opposite. I can't do YouTube from the phone and the laptop for Facebook. So we're going to talk this week about stress. And you guys know this is a very interactive show, and I love to get your input. So if you have information, tips, if you have questions, if you have issues dealing with stress, first of all, this is a safe space. And second of all, there is someone else out there who feels just the way you do. You are not alone. You are not alone. The whole world is stressed. Like literally, all you have to do is look at the news for 2 seconds. Look out your window for 2 seconds. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. Look around you, and you will see stress. You will see stress. Hi, Eddie. Oh, it was Eddie's birthday yesterday. Everybody say happy birthday to Eddie. Happy birthday to Eddie. Once again, if it does glitch on Facebook, please make sure that you jump in. Bloop. Right on top of this video, I did post the live link to YouTube, so that way you could switch over and not miss too much of the thing. And let me ask you guys something. Do you see this little background here? So I think it looks very Van Gogh-like. I picked it up at a thrift shop. And it's a Mosi scarf, but I have not been able to find the name of this print, and I absolutely love it, y'all. So if somebody knows it, please pop it in the comments on either YouTube or on Facebook. If you're not following me, follow me. Hi, Rick, welcome. If you are not following me on YouTube, follow me, subscribe, click that little button, do all those things that people tell you a long time. May Britt, oh, it's so good to see you. Okay, so let's dive right into this topic because I think that it is super important. I think that it is, yay, I am here. I think that it's super important because stress and anxiety and feeling like everything is too much and feeling like you cannot deal. I can't even, right? I can't even. That feeling is something that's universal. And it doesn't matter what country you live in. It doesn't matter what type of lifestyle you live, whether you are a multi-billionaire or whether you are getting by on little tiny payments. Hi, Paul, welcome. Whether you are getting by on a government check, stress and anxiety is something that everyone has to deal with, right? And so it doesn't matter whether you're spiritual. It doesn't matter whether you are woo-woo. It doesn't even matter if you believe in God or whatever you like. Stress is universal. Anxiety is universal. And this is something that we have to face head on. So let's dive right into it, just specifically, hi, Pamela. Let's dive right into it specifically with something right away that we can do. Hi, Juju. Stepping into this, there's so many different stress relief type things and anxiety relief and all these things. Okay. The first thing that I want to remind you of is, like I said, you are not alone. You are not alone. There are so many people that are dealing with stress, and it may not be the same shape as yours. It may not be the same flavor as yours. It may not be the same issues as yours. Yes, it may not be the same issues as yours, and yet it is the same feeling behind that. And stress and anxiety are so closely related, and we often try to separate them, especially people who operate in the realm of I have an anxiety disorder, right? And that is such a heavy thing to carry. And not because it's not a real thing, but because once you label yourself as having an anxiety disorder, it's very easy to allow that to be the end of your exploration into it, and to not dig into its roots, and to not dig into where that comes from. Right? And the same thing with stress. If people just say, oh, I just live a busy lifestyle and I have so much on my plate, and then they're easily overwhelmed and they're easily thrown into a tizzy and everything overwhelms them. We allow the busyness of our life to distract us from digging in and doing the hard work that keeps us from getting to that level of overload before we're there, before we need to, before we even realize it, right? So really, stress and anxiety are so closely united. Whether you are anxiety from specific things, or whether you are stressed just from everyday life, or family members, or relationships, or whatever that may be. So how are we going to dig into this? First of all, like I said, you're not alone. That's the first thing. Here's the second thing. I always like to give practical stuff, right? So I'm going to have a lot of practical stuff that you can do. Easy stuff that you can do, literally to relieve anxiety in the moment and to relieve stress in the moment. And any tips that you have, feel free to share. Please put in the comments. Okay. So the first tip is to breathe. Nothing that you are doing can't wait for 1 minute while you stop to breathe, unless you are literally in the middle of resuscitating someone, or a shootout, or a paramedic. And I know that some of you do that. You need to take those moments to breathe before and after that situation. But most of us in the regular world are not dealing with life and death things where 30 seconds or 60 seconds is going to make that much of a difference. And when we breathe, we don't want to be thinking about what comes next. You don't want to be thinking about what just happened. You want to bring yourself to that space where you're all alone. Even if the only place you are all alone is on the shitter. Take yourself to that space where you are all alone and take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, I want you to picture just like white light, blue light, just something calming, cookies, quiet music, whatever it is that you find calming, breathing in through you, filling you up and shooting outwards, like, right? Just picture that for a second. And you don't have to be woo-woo to do this. This does not take any kind of spiritual knowledge or any kind of connection to whomever outwardly to do this. Just that deep breath in, and then you see it exploding, right? And as you see that pushing outward, I want you to, in your mind, visualize that extra stress, that overload just kind of poofs out. Whatever was building up poofs out a little bit. Hi, Cindy, welcome. So that way, because we build and we build and we build and we, right? You can push some of that outwards, even if it's just for a second. And you might have to do this 10 or 20 times, but do it. Do it as many times as you need to. And if you're good, and if you're stealthy about it, you could kind of do it without anyone noticing while you're in a board meeting, while you're talking to your friend. Don't do it while you're driving the car. Don't close your eyes, but you can still take that deep breath in. And the thing that I want you to think of in that moment is, in this moment, all is well, or I am fine, or it's all good. So we're pulling in that whatever makes you happy, music, light, sound, puppies, breathing that in, and then pushing like this, seeing it exploding outwards. Everything's all right. I'm good. I'm good. Right this second, in this 30 seconds, I'm good. That's where you start. That's where you start if you're heading for overload. So what's the second thing? Other than you are not alone. What's the next thing that we're going to do after that big old breath? I want you to pay attention for what's around you, what's triggering you, what's going on right this moment that got you to that space, that got you to that place. I've talked about this before. Cesar Millan is a dog trainer. For those of you who don't know, he used to do a TV show, and he is very big on recognizing your dog's behavior, recognizing before they go into the red zone. And he does this thing where he like pokes them in the neck and makes this little noise, and they kind of startle. Because what happens is the path to stress and the path to anxiety is very much like the path to anger. It is a well-worn path that we have walked over and over again, okay? And so because it is a very familiar path to walk down, we find ourselves halfway there before we even realize it. We find ourselves in that space of stress before we even realize, hey, I'm stressed. I'm stressed. So you have to recognize before you get there. You have to pay attention to the road that leads you to stress, to anxiety, or if anger is your thing, to anger. So you have to pay attention to it so that you can disrupt before you get to your destination of full-on meltdown, right? Because we want to avoid full-on meltdown, right? We don't want to get you there. You want to be able to not do that in front of other people. You want to have the freedom to do that as you need to, so you can fully explore it and not be feeling judged or being worried about what's going on or whatever it is, okay? So I want you to pay attention to those signs. Now, when you first start doing this, you may not be able to stop yourself from walking down that path, even though you recognized, oh, this person just cut me off. Whether it was in words, whether it was in actions, whether it was in the car, this person just cut me off and it triggered me. And now I'm getting there. I'm getting stressed. I'm feeling like, or I'm feeling like I'm not getting my message across. Whatever it is, something gets you walking down that path. So right now, the first couple times, you may not be able to stop yourself from walking all the way down that path and feeling that anxiety or feeling that stress overload, right? But I want you to make a note of where you noticed it. And if you literally have to make a note, make a note. Because these are good things to pay attention to, because they're clues that you can follow, like Scooby and the gang, down to the root of that. Welcome, Valerie. Down to the root of that situation, of that stress, of that anxiety, of that thing that just is pushing you over the edge, right? So the first thing was that big breath, right? The next thing is pay attention. Pay attention when you find yourself down that path a little bit, okay? And make a note. Make a note. Now, if you are at a point where you can go, hey, okay, why am I getting this way? What's going on? Where you can literally stop yourself from walking down the path, do it. Because that takes us into the next thing. I want you to think about your emotion that you're feeling as you head down this path of stress and anxiety, okay? Now, many people will say, oh, I'm stressed out because this person is yelling at me, or I'm stressed out because I have to get the kids to school and I have to make all their lunches and I have to get to work and I have to get this deadline. Or they'll say, I have anxiety because there's lines that are going like this really fast by the window, or because I'm, around a lot of people. Those are your surroundings. Stress is not an emotion. Anxiety is not really an emotion. An emotion comes from your heart. Stress comes from your mind. Anxiety comes from your mind. It's induced by the external. It induces an emotion that comes from your heart. So when you make that awareness, when you pay attention to, oh my gosh, I'm going down this road. Hi, Debbie, welcome. I'm going down this road. Pay attention to the emotion that comes up that is triggered by the thing that led you down that path, or the person that led you down that path, or the situation. Because saying I'm stressed because I have so much stuff to do is not really why you're stressed. You have a lot of stuff to do and it makes you feel blank. And so you have a stress response. Very similar to fight or flight. Fight or flight is triggered by danger. It's triggered by fear. It's not, I'm running because I see a cow or because I see a panther, a cow. Who's running from a cow, right? Well, I guess if it has horns, you'd run from it. You're not running because you saw it. You're running because you're afraid it's going to hit you. You're afraid it's going to gore you, right? It's not seeing it. It's not the situation that is stressing you. It is your emotional response to the situation that is stressing you, right? So we're going to dig into the emotional response stuff in just a second. But let's get to a couple of practical things like intangible stuff, because the emotional stuff, it takes practice to be able to do it in the moment. And it's one of those things where you have to make a mental note, you have to pay attention, and you might have to go back to it when you're not in a stressful situation and revisit that, because you got to dig into some hard stuff. You got to dig into some really hard stuff. Oh, my co-host back here, my QB doobie. I love him so much. Okay, so here's some practical things. So I'm going to start with my practical things. I have a level of anxiety when it comes to driving through tunnels. I used to have a lot of anxiety about being in crowds. I don't anymore. I dealt with my empath stuff and I'm good with crowds now. I kind of like enjoy and feed off the energy now of a crowd. But a practical thing for me, I started out with these rings, not these specific rings, but with rings. This one in particular, if you can see it, it is a little alien. I posted a picture of this on my Facebook and somebody commented, that is hideous. Yes, it's hideous. But you know what I do when I'm anxious? I pet it just like this. This is why worry stones help. It's the distraction technique, just like the thing that Cesar Millan does. When you feel the stress coming on, when you feel the worry coming on, when you feel that anxiety coming on, have something physical that you can do, like a child with their whoopee. I know that a lot of kids like to have a little soft thing and they'll put the ear right here when they get upset to soothe them, right? Or they'll rub it, or they'll, they have all their own, let's suck their thumb. Those are soothing techniques, right? We as adults can have soothing techniques. So another one that you can use is a crystal. This is my rose quartz. I love my crystal. That is a great one, a kukui nut. I hope I pronounced that right. Or rabbit's foot even, which I know is kind of, nowadays is kind of like frowned on. But my grandpa always had a rabbit's foot in his pocket. And maybe it was for the same thing. Certain crystals can help with anxiety, but any crystal that makes you feel good works. Or even just the texture of it. Some people are very big on texture, and just touching it can help, right? So here's some strange ones that you may not know, all right? This is a bay leaf. And if you light a bay leaf, like sage, you get about 10 seconds of smoke. And if you do this and breathe it in, it's good for anxiety. You can literally carry a lighter and a bay leaf in your purse and just light it for that. It only goes for a few seconds and then it burns out. And it smells nice. This is another thing that calms the brain. And in that moment that you take to breathe, like I said, maybe you need to excuse yourself and go in the restroom for a moment from whatever anxious situation you're in. This can help you, and you can carry it with you, unlike a giant stick of sage. But different than sage, and yet in that same type of a venue, this is a rosemary bundle, right? Now you can get rosemary at the grocery store and intention your own bundle, right? And tie it up with a beautiful, string or ribbon. And it's the same exact principle. And you just light it just like you would light sage. And it burns. And you don't have to have a bundle like this. You can literally buy a stick at the grocery store and light the end of it. And this thing smells amazing when it cooks, right? Just a beautiful, simple thing that you don't have to have any kind of spiritual whatnot to be able to take that moment and breathe it in and calm the mind. For some, they use essential oils, right? So, like, I have a bracelet, crystal bracelet, but on each end, I put a lava bead, right? So I can put a drop of whatever oil helps me. Some would say chamomile, some would say lavender. Pick whatever you like. Yes, there are certain things that go with the brain, but pick what you like. Hi, Jen, welcome. Hello, Eleanor. Paula Santos, there you go. You can carry that with you and light a little bit anywhere that you are that is not a no smoking zone. And even if it is a no smoking zone, go to the bathroom and just light it for 2 seconds. What are you going to do? Drag you out and beat you? No, it's fine. And it's certainly better than you having like a breakdown. And Rick, the crowd thing, that's going to be the emotional stuff that we're going to talk about. Rick is a performer locally here in Virginia Beach area. If y'all are having an event, reach out to Rick because he's amazing. And if you haven't seen him before, definitely go check out his page. And I actually have shared quite a few of his little performances on my own page. So anyways, so these are just some practical things. Here's another one. I wear little crystals in cages, right? And I pick whatever I want that's good for me, and I put it in the cage. And I don't wear them all the time, but I do wear them when I go on long car trips. They're for anxiety. Like I said, I have mobility issues, so driving gets to me. These are simple things that you can do. Sweetgrass, that's another good one. And anything that you guys do, go ahead and put your comments in there, put your suggestions in there, because we are creating a mastermind in this space because we are sharing this moment. We're sharing this energy. We're sharing our knowledge, our experience. We're sharing our fears, our emotions, and we're sharing our love. And that creates this beautiful mastermind, okay? All right. So now we have some practical things that you can do in that moment. That disruption thing, another thing that I like to talk about in disruption, that thing, pick something weird, off the wall, so that when you recognize that you are walking down that path of stress and anxiety, you can cut into it, boom, like this. Whether it's a strange word like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, whether it's an unusual picture in your head of a banana with the mustache. One of the things I used to picture was that woman with the Chewbacca mask, that she would start laughing. She just got so much joy out of it. She's laughing and laughing and laughing in the car. She bought one for her kids, and then she put it on and recorded herself. These things will stop you in your tracks and make you recognize, oh, I'm going down the wrong path. Did you see that orb, y'all? The orbs are with us today. Yes. I'm going down the wrong path. A sweet smelling candle, that's a beautiful one for when you're in your home in those spaces. And when you dig into the emotional stuff, you definitely want to be in a safe spot. You definitely want to be in a place where you feel supported, and those sweet smelling candles and burning your sage or whatever rituals you like to do for meditation, whatever calming type stuff you like to do, that would be the moment to step into that safe space. So let's step into that safe space right now. Thank you, Pamela, for the segue. As I said, the stress and the anxiety is actually a result of an emotion. You're not stressed because you have 100 things to do. You're stressed because of how that makes you feel, okay? So we're going to dig into this a little bit. And as I was saying, we walk down this path of familiarity, right? We walk down this path of familiarity in this stress and in this anxiety, right? And oftentimes what we will do to ourselves is we will create layers upon layers of reasons to stay in this stressful mindset, in this anxious mindset, in this fight or flight mindset. Because for so many of us, that energy is more comfortable than sitting with ourselves without distraction. And so we will keep ourselves in a space of stress purposefully. We will wind ourselves up over issues that are out of our control purposefully, because of the fact that we don't want to sit with the emotions behind that. And that is a very difficult space to be in. That's why I said get out your sweet smelling candles. Like Pamela said, pet your cat, be calm, all that kind of stuff, because those are the things you have to dig into. Hi, Mary Jane, welcome. Those are the things that you have to dig into. So the first thing I want you to pay attention to after you've recognized, okay, I'm walking down this path. This is okay. This is what triggered me. So-and-so said this, or I realized I have 50 places to go today, or I'm running late. For some people, being late becomes a huge thing, or technology. Technology will send people into a tizzy, ruin their entire day, right? And then we layer, because the first thing will happen, okay, I'm late getting up to get the kids off to school, right? And now we're in this sour, I'm always late. God, why can't I get anything done? We get in on ourselves about what a terrible mom we are, what a terrible person we are, how we can never accomplish anything. We get on ourselves, right? Then something else will happen. Hi, Christy, welcome. Something else will happen, right? Maybe someone cuts you off, or when you drop the kids off, one of them leaves their lunch behind, or you go to the grocery store and they're out of your favorite milk. I don't know. Now you layer that on. Then it's like, oh my God, everything is against me. F my life. Jeez. Then your phone dies when you need to be making a phone call. Now you layer that one on, right? Then you get into a fight with someone. Well, I want you to pay attention to the fact that you started off the day layering your energies with negativity, layering your energies with self-judgment, layering your energies with how you are not good enough, with your own lack. And rather than taking ownership of those feelings, you're putting that accountability out on the things that happen and not on your reaction to the things that happened. So when you meet up with this loved one, you're already in a mindset that you're broadcasting that everyone's against you, that the world is out to get you. So then, of course, you're going to get into a fight with this person because you're already itching for it. You're already on the defense. You're already in that space of everybody's out to get me. The world is against me. So, of course, you get into a fight. I have a friend who will layer these things up, and it's interesting because you can literally watch his posts throughout the week. So the first one will be something like, oh, they got my phone bill wrong and turned it off when I paid the bill. What a crazy thing, ugh. Then the next day it'll be 2 or 3 things. God, what else could possibly happen? How else can the world screw me? Then the third day it'll be something else. And by the 4th day, he's literally breaking up with his man, losing his job, in the hospital with a physical breakdown. Because he has layered these experiences and used one to justify the next level and used that one to create something even bigger. Now, of course, some circumstances are beyond our control. But if you're looking for a fight, you will find one. If you are looking for ways that the world sucks, you will find them. If you are looking to see those things in your life, you will find them. Hi, Haley, welcome. Whatever you are looking for will find you. Because what we are doing right now affects what happens next. What you did yesterday or 10 minutes ago affects what you do now. It affects what's happening. And what you do right now affects what's going to happen next. And so each one of these layers, each one of these amplifications of emotion is drawing to you the next level of whatever your core root emotion was from that morning when you were late, that started off your week from hell. So the thing that you have to dig into, because now we've paid attention, we've figured out it's, being late. That's the thing that starts me down this road. What does being late mean to you? What does that particular thing that set you off, whether it was feeling unheard, being late, something not going right, being clumsy, having your hair wrong, whatever it was that triggered that walk down that path, into that stress, into that overload? What's the feeling that you get from that? And who made you feel that way? What was the situation that you started feeling that way? Where did that start for you? And just think backwards. I do a show called Healing with Time Travel. If you haven't seen it, make sure you look for it. It's on my page. I'll probably link it in this afterwards within the next couple of hours. Dig backwards in your life to when the last time that you felt that way. So maybe when you're late, you feel judged by others or by yourself. You feel like you're not good enough. I can't even do a simple thing like brush my hair in time to get out the door. Or I'm not even good enough to get my kids ready so that we can get to wherever we need to go, right? When we dig into that emotion, now you're chasing the emotion into the past, to the last time you felt that way, to the last time you felt that way, to the last time you felt that way. Okay, so Rick says it means like feel like I'm building a bad track record for future opportunities. That means you are worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. Future hasn't happened. And so worrying about it, you are anticipating failure before it happens. And so you are in that feeling of that which hasn't happened yet right now. Like very similar to the anticipation that we feel before we go and get a shot, before we go to the dentist, before we have surgery. We feel like it's going to hurt, and so we will stress ourselves out. If you're a person who doesn't like needles, then you're stressing about the needle and what you're going to feel maybe for days before, maybe for months before if you're having surgery. In this moment, everything is fine. And where does that pain come from? That worry about that future thing. You're projecting failure. You're projecting, I'm not good enough. I'm not going to succeed. Or I'm not pretty enough. Or I am not enough of anything. I don't matter. Right? Almost every issue at its core boils down to us not feeling like we're good enough to accomplish whatever it is we're supposed to do. I'm stressed because I'm not going to finish. I'm stressed because I'm going to let everyone down. I'm stressed because at its core, I suck. I can't do this. I can't human anymore. This is too much for me, right? Almost every worry boils down to this. Almost every anxiety boils down to this. Is that feeling that we are not enough, that we are not good enough, that we cannot do the things we say we're going to do, that we're going to let the world down. And ultimately, we're going to let ourselves down. And if you're spiritual, a lot of spiritual people think they're letting God down, they're letting the universe down, they're letting Creator down. Because they think that they cannot do what is asked of them, when the only thing that is asked of you is to love in this moment, to love yourself through this moment. And yes, Leah says, I think some people in our lives conditioned our thinking to think we aren't enough. We are trained from a very small, young age to be good little boys and girls, to do what we're told, that if you don't finish your homework, then you're a bad student. If you don't clean your room, then you're a bad child, right? If you don't behave the way we tell you to behave, then you are a bad person. If you don't react the way other people react, then you are a bad person, etc., 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 depending on your surroundings, on your environment, on the people around you. But here's the thing. They are placing judgments on you based on their own pain, based on their own conditioning, based on their own lives. And you are different. You live a different life than them. You live a different life than they did. You grew up differently than they did. It's not the Depression anymore. It's not the 70s anymore. It's not even the 90s anymore. And so the life that they went through is not the same as the life that you're going through. And so to continue to live by the conditioning that has been put on you by others creates a level of stress and anxiety that is overwhelming. Is overwhelming. So we have to dig down into those emotions. We have to dig down into that pain. We have to give ourselves a fucking break. Give yourself a break. You rock. You're awesome. Just because you didn't get your to-do list done, so what? Just because you lost your job, so what? Just because your husband, wife left you, so what? You're still awesome. You're still you. You are still beloved. You still matter. Just because you shake every time a dog comes around, just because you can't get into the car, just because you have problems in crowds, you still matter. You are still a shining star. You are still the star of your story. What kind of a story do you want to live? Give yourself a break. No one expects you to know everything about your computer. And I know people that will get themselves into a tizzy over not being able to work their computer or trying to put something in their phone. They will literally get so angry they'll throw the phone down. It's a thing. It's a moment. If you just take a second to breathe and try again, maybe you'll get it right. But you know what? Maybe you won't get it right. That's okay. Do you know what you can do? You can go look it up later. You can ask someone else to help you. You can reach out to someone who's been through it before. Right, no matter what your story, you are worthy. And nothing in your life is worth that level of stress, that level of anxiety, taking yourself to that place of self-hatred and self-loathing and pain. Because what you're doing is reliving that moment and that experience where you didn't feel good enough. And it might have started when you were tiny, and it usually does start in our childhood. That's not placing blame on the parents around us. I'm sure they all were doing the best they could with their own emotional stories, right? In those moments that you are feeling stress, you are reliving your feelings of insecurity and unworthiness from your past. From the past that you lived. Yes, over and over and over again. You are reliving that time your family said to you, you will never grow up to be anything. Or that time they looked at you and said, something's not right about her. Or something's not right about him. He's going to be nothing. Those things create a recording in our mind, whether we remember them consciously or not. And again, that's not to blame the person who said that. They're not saying it to hurt. Usually, the harshest things are said in encouragement. I know you're better than this. You can do this. I believe in you so much, and I know that you're better than this F that you got. I know you don't want to be a bad little girl. I know that you're better than this. Sometimes the harshest things are actually said in love, but the way that we hear them is not through love. So all this is the things that you kind of have to pay attention to in those stressful times, in those anxious times. So what is the most important tip? I gave you the tip about the bay leaves and about the rocks and about the breathing. Love yourself. Love yourself. Give yourself a break. Whatever is put before you, you will either do it or you won't do it. And either way, the world will keep turning. Life will go on. You will keep living. And you will learn from it whatever you're supposed to learn from it, as long as you recognize that in the situation. And Rick, you might be holding on to that. Michelle had put a little, let me zoom up a little. Michelle had put a little thing here too I want to read. Trying to teach my teen this, but she argues with me. Display it rather than teach it. Live it rather than relay it. Because when we live it, we are an example. And our energy is different. And they start to learn just from our energy being different around it. You know, believe me, I have had teenagers. I still have a teenager. And yes, Rick, there could be something in what she said that relates to something that was said to you even younger that keeps you from believing that what you're doing is viable as a life path. And how long did it keep you from doing it? And now that you're embracing it, how many obstacles are coming into your way that may be self-generated because of the things that we think? Right? I mean, we're just kids. We would never think that the things that, when we're talking to our kids now, we don't think about the fact that when we say something like, you're never going to amount to anything if you don't go to college. Now, that's not how it's heard. We're trying to say that to scare them into going to college, to encourage them into going to college, to help them to get better grades, so we think. But really what they're hearing could be, I'm a loser. I'm not going to be anything. I can't handle college. I can barely handle high school. How the heck am I going to get through that? What am I going to do? My mom's not going to love me anymore. My dad's not going to love me because I don't have good grades, because I'm not going to college. They're going to think I'm nothing. We don't realize what we're doing to others, and we don't realize what we're doing to ourselves. So love yourself. Experience the world through love. Speak through that space of respect for the other person and respect for yourself. Love for what they're going through and love for yourself. Allow people to have their own experience in this and support them with your energy. And do the same for yourself. If you need to have a freak out, have a freak out. Don't judge yourself for it. When you judge yourself, you now set yourself up to do it again. But if you sit down and examine it, and you pay attention to it, and you go back and you look at it, and you say, okay, where did it start? What started it? What triggered it? How can I pay attention to that? What's my disruptor? How can I possibly remove myself from the situation? Or how can I react to it differently? Because we control our own emotions. We are in control of the conversations in our heads. We are in control of the things we believe or don't believe. And if you don't believe that, look at the country, because half the country believes one thing and half the country believes the other thing, and they believe it 100% with their whole mind. So if you think that you can't believe something that's not true, think again. Think again. If you want to believe you're a failure, then okay, you're a failure. But if you want to believe that you matter, that you are worthy, then that's truth. It's not the external that validates that. It's not the successes in the world that validates that you are successful. It is our choice to step into that as a belief about ourselves. It is not the money in your bank account that determines whether you are wealthy. It may be the money in your bank account that determines what you can buy, but wealth is more than money. It is not the people telling you how great you are that determines how great you are. You can be a star with no one watching. You can be the best singer on the planet without anyone hearing you. You can be the most beautiful soul in the world and not be seen. We see ourselves. We support ourselves. I define myself for myself, because I am validated by the energy of the universe. I'm validated by the energy of the light, God, Sophia, Gaia, Fred, whatever you want to call it. That is my validation, because I am worthy, because I exist. Merely because you exist, you are good enough. Merely because you exist, you matter. You are worthy. Good is a measure that we create in our minds based on societal standards. Did I get up this morning? Yay. Everything else is just an experience. It's just life. It's just something fun to do or something not fun to do, but it's all fun. The pain is fun. Everything is a ride. And even the stuff that sucks, it may not be fun now. It may not be fun in the experiencing it. But it's something that builds on where you've been and where you're going. It's something that fulfills something in your life, a path maybe that you picked, or a road that you chose, or someone else's road that they chose. But stress and anxiety is the reaction to the emotion of not being worthy, of failure, of pain. Oh, that's great, Rick. Everything we do, every thought we have, every intention we set, every word we say, every action we take creates a new path, a new timeline, a new step in one direction or the other. And if you have lived with anxiety and walked the same path, down the same triggers and the same stressors, try stepping into a different path. Try disruption. And just on a broader note, before I go, the world is having stress. The collective is feeling stress. And so your stress may not be your own. Your anxiety may not even be your own anxiety. You might be experiencing the anxiety of the universe, of the collective, of all of these people who are starving and angry and fighting and, struggling, and all of the things that happen that we look to verify that the world sucks. The world doesn't suck, but there is a lot of pain, painful stories being lived out. There is a lot of hatred being expended. So how do we change that once we recognize some of this stress I'm feeling may not be coming from me? I might be soaking it up, all you empaths out there. You might be soaking it up, all you empaths out there, right? How do we deal with that? Don't bubble up. You can bubble up, but make sure that your bubble is a semi-permeable membrane, which means that certain things are allowed to go out and come in. So if you have recognized that some of the stress you're feeling isn't your own, it might be from the people around you, it might be from the ambient world, what do? You take that deep breath in and you feel that unconditional love. And if you don't know what unconditional love feels like, I'm going to give you a moment. Are you ready? If you like puppies, if you like kittens, if you like babies, okay, baby animals of any sort, human or non-human, that moment that you spot that baby, that puppy, that whatever it is, and you get that, and that joy for a moment floods your brain. That is unconditional love. Because you are not expecting that baby to do anything for you but lay there and be cute. You are not expecting that puppy to do anything. There is only love. That is what unconditional love feels like. Times 100. But that's one of the closest ways that we get to it on this planet. Now, let me drink out of my giant coffee cup, okay? Yes, it is the same size as my head. That unconditional love, that moment that you have, if you can grab that energy for just a second and push it outwards, explode it into everything around you, that can help you dissipate just the collective energy of stress and pain and sorrow and despair and anxiety. Because if you're sensitive, you can build it up, unfortunately. It can build up in the corners like dust. It can drip down from the corners of your little mind. And so taking that moment to explode that unconditional light outward can really help you. Yes, and I do think it runs in families. And I think that because it runs in families, that sometimes is the reason why mothers and daughters often have a lot of butting heads. Because the mother didn't deal with her empath stuff in the way that she should, and the daughter ends up getting the brunt of the emotional vomit or explosions or spillage that comes from an empath who doesn't know how to deal with their things. Just my old theory, you know. And my daughter is also very empathic. She carries it as anxiety. And she blocks herself off. You matter. You matter. And when you feel stressed and when you feel anxious, take a moment, take a breath, explode out that little bit of unconditional love, even if it's just for a second that you can feel that joy. Explode it outwards. Take 30 seconds and disrupt the energy around you. Disrupt the thought pattern that you're having. Give yourself a little bit of that unconditional love. Give yourself a freaking break already. You matter. You are worthy. And no matter how much stress and anxiety you have on your plate, no matter how many activities you have that are creating that, or how many situations you have that are creating that, it is how you react to those situations that makes all the difference. So we talked about practical stuff. We talked about emotional stuff. We talked about spiritual stuff. I hope that you guys will take this with you. I hope that you guys will live through this energy of unconditional love in every decision you make, in every conversation you have. And you don't have to be woo-woo, talk Pollyanna, hippy-dippy whatnots. Just have empathy, compassion, kindness. Recognize your own thoughts and recognize the pain that others are in, rather than judging them and judging yourself. And give yourself a break if you do happen to have a little episode, or if you do happen to have a meltdown. It's okay. Maybe you'll do better next time. Dig into it. Pay attention. You got this. All right, let's do a little bit of business here. Once again, my name is Licara. I have a website called unleashyourlight.org. On that website, you can order my little book, Unleash Your Light. So Unleash Your Light is about simple things you can do in your everyday life to access the divine within you. It's a powerful little book. It's a powerful little book with simple stuff that you can do every day. Be nice to yourself. Forgive yourself. Be nice to others. Ignore your feelings. That's a weird one, right? Ignoring your feelings means ignore that primal reaction. Ignore the stress reaction. Ignore the fight or flight and take a moment to observe so that you can actually figure out, am I mad or am I hurt? Should I yell at this person or should I take it down a notch and have a conversation? Do I need to walk away? You can get it at unleashyourlight.org. It is $9.95. Thank you, Leah, so much. I appreciate that. If you have ordered the book, please go and give me a review on Amazon. That would be fabulous. Or even on my page here, Unleash Your Light. I also have a group called Unleash Light. I post some stuff in it. If you are local here to Williamsburg, we have a meetup group this Monday night. It is going to be held at Unity Williamsburg, and we're going to talk about reincarnation. So it should be very interesting. Past lives and all that kind of good stuff. I have a book signing on Saturday at the Prime Warehouse Outlets, and I have all kinds of stuff coming up. I have a big thing coming up that I'm scheduling for April. And I did kind of already drop the little hints there, so I'll go ahead and fill you guys in. Okay, so I did a podcast with the Behind the Scenes Tidewater podcast, which Tidewater is the area, everything east of Richmond here in Virginia. And so the link will probably be down. It won't be here on YouTube, sorry, but it'll be here on Facebook to that show. I am putting together an event in April. It is going to be a day of spiritual empowerment, okay? We are going to talk about the things that we can do in the physical realm to empower ourselves spiritually, to use our spirituality to empower ourselves in the physical realm. All right, because those two things we're integrating, right? We're integrating. So it's going to be a full day. I haven't quite set the price yet. It's probably going to be somewhere in the range of $40 to $50 to $60, depending on when you order. Lunch is included. We're going to have a beautiful vegetarian salad bar. and have some great speakers lined up. It's not just me yapping, because y'all know I could go on for hours, and I have gone on for almost an hour. But it's going to be really, really beautiful. It will be located here in Williamsburg, Virginia. And if you happen to wander through the area, if you want to come and visit, it is a gorgeous place to vacation. You can schedule your vacation for the same time as my little conference. And in April, the prices are really low on the hotels because we're not quite in season yet. So you should be able to get a really good deal. And anyone who wants to do that, please reach out to me. I will be happy to connect you, and we'll hang out too. So, okay, guys, I love you so much. I want you to go through every moment paying attention, being self-aware, recognizing that you are a star, you are worthy, you matter, and that you can take every single moment and live it through unconditional love and overcome all these things of stress and anxiety and pain and trauma. You can get through it. You can overcome it because you're connected to the universe. You're divine. You're perfect. And this is all just a journey that we're on. I love you. Mwah. And believe me, Valerie, it happens. I do go up for hours. Okay, guys, I love you so much. I will see you next Thursday. I am going to start doing some extra things here. I've been practicing with cards. I already do rune readings, and I think I'm going to start doing some of that live. So we'll dig into some new things in this new the new space of 2020. Okay, mwah. Bye, guys. Bye, YouTube. Make sure that you hit the like button, that you subscribe to me, that you put comments down there, and share me on your social media, right? I mean, come on, everyone can use a little bit of help, can't they? I love you guys so very much, and have a